we are identified by our fashion, by our fabrics, by our culture. It's a representation of who we are. So the stories we tell today will help educate them properly. So my name is Kingsley Amako, and I'm the founder of African Fashion and Arts Award. I always say this comes from a place of passion, right? Because right from 2007, I've done a couple of modeling. We're part of the people who, then it was more like a competition. Have you been to Port Harcourt Fashion Week? Have you been on the Lagos Fashion Week runway? Have you been to all of these runways? So I did my, fair share of that kind of thing. I also participated in pageants back in the university. It became my industry, right? But along the way, I realized that people in the space are not very well recognized, very well encouraged. Now, when you hear Grammy, for example, what comes to mind is music. When you hear BET, what comes to mind is usually music, and then the rest of it. You hear AMVC in Nigeria, what comes to mind is movies. So there may be brands around. There may be organizations that are promoting fashion and art, but not very well pronounced. So it now appears as though people in this space are not being encouraged. So that bettered African Fashion and Arts Award. I'll give you one word first. African fashion is a unifier. It's one language. African fashion is a language that you can use to relate to the entire continent. We have so many, cultures, languages, and heritage in the continent, but our fashion is what distinguishes us. We are identified by our fashion, by our fabrics, by our culture. It's a representation of who we are. I'm not going to blame our forefathers, neither am I going to blame our leaders in this case, because there's always time for everything. So you see that the Westerners approached us in different manners, in different forms. For example, there's a brand that is into leather making. This leather is from Kano State. It's an indigenous leather. But when it's been exported to the likes of Italy and the rest of them, it comes back to us as the high brands that we pay thousands of dollars for. So it tells you that we've always had these things. But our forefathers, maybe they failed to identify that we have this, or they failed to implement policies that will mandate the Westerners or the foreigners or investors to produce here. The organization JAPA.RUN is trying to also solve a problem of telling a story to change the narrative. We want to solve a problem first by changing the narrative, first of all. Because, like you said, what we are doing now is for people for the next 25, 50 years down the line. So the stories we tell today will help educate them properly. We are promoting, part of what we do at AFA is to also promote use Africa, wear Africa, promote Africa. So if we don't have the confidence in our own products, in our own African-made products, then how can we make any difference? So we need to first of all begin to shape the narrative such that we can appreciate our own thing first of all, promote it, wear it, and be confident and proud in it. So we've expanded into an academy. We now have an AFA Academy. And part of the things we intend to achieve with the academy is to empower because in Africa you need to harness this inherent talent. So we need to harness them and empower them. So part of the things we want to do is to empower them through the academy. For example, like you said, starting from the scratch is a very serious challenge in this continent. So you have cases where people can say, okay, I want to become a fashion designer. You get the basic knowledge, and then you come to our establishment. You just get a spot where you have a machine there for you. You have basic facilities you need to begin with. And then if there are payments, it could be subsidized. That way, a designer does not need to worry about renting a space, don't need to worry about buying an expensive machine, don't need to worry about sourcing fabrics, because we can connect, can connect that relationship between the manufacturers and the supplier and you, the end user. So that way, we've made it seamless for a person who wants to begin this journey in the business of fashion. It's a competitive world, and Africa is part of this competition. We are not going to say, oh, Africa is not part of this competition. We are part of this competition. And Africa is even the next big thing. The time is now. China, some years ago, just about 20, 30 years ago, were not this relevant in the scheme of things. But they identified the problem, which was first of all to educate their citizens and then create systems that can make them focus on developing these things. Now they've achieved that. They've expanded into knowing the desires of several other continents, which, for example, imagine our own Adire, imagine our Ankara being produced, mass production. They have electricity, they have machinery, they have the knowledge, so they can afford to do these things. So part of what we also want to do, which I believe we're both working on, is the narrative at the end of the day. First, let's understand that we have these things. We are ready to appreciate our own products. We are ready to wear them. We're ready to promote them. I will go as far as mentioning what some other countries have started implementing. Like some countries in Africa who have banned the importation of second-handed clothes. You know that that's the biggest market in the likes of Kenya, for example. Rwanda have just banned that. So when you do that, you see, imagine the population falling back to your original Adire, falling back to your original Ankara. That will become it will create the market for the person who wants to invest in commercializing the production of these things. So we will get there, but it begins with the storytelling. It begins with changing the narrative. From what you've asked is our culture. Fashion is our culture, right? Is part of our identity. Is our way of life. We cannot just shy away from our way of life because of the fact that, we're going to address sustainability. We're going to address the green fashion, for example. There's an aspect we can call green fashion. We're going there. If you look at green fashion, for example, the second-handed clothes that are coming creates an opportunity for recycling. There's a lot you can do with those clothes, but we may not have understood that yet, or may not have even gotten to the place where we have a lot of people with that knowledge ready to invest in that, which is one of the things we're also calling. There are FDI opportunities for investors to come in and see how we can develop. Most agencies, organizations are promoting that at the moment. Now, but when we look at green fashion, we're saying that let's use what we have. There's a lady in, is it Indonesia or so, that makes fabrics, even leather, from plantain, plantain stem. So that's green fashion. Whatever it is that can produce is considered as a green fashion. So these are things that we can start educating people in the schools, educating people in the ecosystem, entrepreneurs. There's a lot you can do, and not just, yes, our Adire, I'm totally very proud of our fabrics, but let's educate them about green fashion. There's a lot we can do with that. First is the desire to achieve the things that I've mentioned earlier, the ambition, the passion for our country, Nigeria, for the continent, for other creatives in this space, because I'm a creative in this space. I meet models every day, I meet fashion designers every day, I meet artists. And again, it's experience. I've been part of so many sectors, from education, from studying library and information science in the university, from participating in several runway shows, from being in several pageants, the ups and downs of pageants, from youth service in the military, for example, in the Navy. So you see, I've touched so many sectors, from working in construction, from working in even power plants. So it brings me back to the fact that I feel like these things are just preparing me to lead this organization. First, to identify the missing link, and to be able to know how and when to connect the dots, which is what I think we're doing. You can call it African fashion in the modern age, right? So because I consider it to be inclusive. For example, you cited the people in East Africa, for example, the marks from the likes of Benin, people in Nigeria, and all of that, the Yorubas. So these things were a means of identity. These things were a means of expression back in the day. We still do those things now. However, we've just evolved. You understand? We've evolved. For example, I had a conversation with a lady who was very prominent in the last Ojuloba festival, and she was able to mix her Adire in a very Western way. So you see, it's the same Adire that some persons wore as, the agbadas and the rest of them, the very big clothes, the big head ties, but she was able to make a mini skirt out of Adire, out of ashoke. So what has happened there? The same thing we hope to achieve with the clothes that we get from different continents, we can achieve it with our fabrics. It's just about what? Adaptation. We've adapted this, we look comfortable in it, our fabrics can still be very comfortable. And we have very creative designers who can bring to life whatever it is we imagine. So let's bring whatever it is our imaginations can, tell us. Designers put it together with our fabrics. That's what we're saying. It's inclusivity. We're not saying, oh no, don't dress this way. No. I can make a tie with my Adire, with my Ashoke, with my Ankara. So that's inclusivity. So fashion has evolved. Culture and African fashion, they will remain together. They can actually stay together and they will remain together because it works, hand in hand. For example, Ojudoba is a very big festival, but when it started, it wasn't like that. We already know what the Ojudoba festival is all about. And now it has become a festival that has put Nigeria on the map. It's become a destination. People travel far and wide for that festival. What do they come to experience? They come to experience culture. They come to experience tradition. How can we have more of the likes of Ojudoba festivals in Nigeria and in Africa? Yes, there are so many ways we can have. For example, the likes of African Fashion and Arts Award is one organization bringing festivals across the continent. We have been able to interface with the media and even the government in Kenya, in Rwanda, in Tanzania. We've had some collaborations that enhance our push for such festivals. So we are connecting Africa, a country at a time, while celebrating and rewarding creativity. I mean, what we do at African Fashion and Arts Award is reward and celebrate creativity. We identify creative entrepreneurs, fashion entrepreneurs, artists who have been making impact in the economy, in the ecosystem, and we recognize and reward them through our platform. So our platform, we sponsor and project fashion designers because we understand that fashion designers need platforms like ours to be well projected on the global stage. So we create stages across the continent in different countries to project these fashion designers. So in 10 years, my organization would have built entrepreneurs, would have created brands who have passed through our solutions. So what would make me give up? I don't think that word is in my dictionary because we've had challenges in these 5 years. I mean, a lot of brands shut down after 4 or 5 years. So in 1 year, 2 years, we've had those challenges and ups and downs. So it means that it was never in our dictionary. So giving up is not there. We are here to impact, and we'll keep doing that. Even starting the organization in the first place, we needed to do it, which I had to go out of my way, met some of my mentors, and they encouraged me to just go ahead and do it. But after that was starting. Starting is always easier because at that time you have the drive, you have the zeal. So we started. The second edition became a problem. How do you get sponsors to fund it? You've set a pedestal, you've set a standard. How do you fund it? I started selling properties to be able to do that. I owed my models for almost 3 months. Models would call me left, right, center for me to pay them. But they wouldn't understand because you can't share these stories. You can't tell them these things. Now it feels lonely because who motivates the motivator?